client situation that had a really big impact on my career was actually before I started CFO Dynamics. I was working for someone else, and I refer to it as Jerry's story or Gary's story, neither of which are his real name. But going back about 15 years ago, Jerry was running a construction company, and he started as a guy on the tools, was really good at what he did, and like most business owners, almost fell into becoming a business owner just by virtue of being really good at what he does. So he was a brickie, built up a bit of a crew, and then got his building ticket and was doing residential properties, and was growing. And where I was working at the time, we got the phone call from somebody within Gary's business in the finance team going, hey, we're in a bit of a tight spot here, we need some help. And when you get the call of, hey, we're in a tight spot, chances are that they're probably in a really tight spot if they're referring to it as a tight spot. And what happened was we worked through a plan of making sure that payroll can still be met, making sure that suppliers were still happy, and essentially their business could keep the lights on. But for a window of around 2 months, we were really unsure if Gary's business was going to collapse or it was going to survive. And the reality was, if the business collapsed, it would mean that Gary would lose his house. He was, well, to the best of my knowledge, still married with 2 kids, and you can just imagine what impact that would have on him and his family to lose their house and lose everything that he'd built over around a 15-year career. And what we did was put a plan in place, and we actually started saying no to certain types of work. He was thinking to grow his way out of it, so win more work to feed the beast that is the business. But the reality was we actually needed to start saying no. And it took us around about 3 months to work through that plan of being in absolute ultimate distress to 3 months later of going, I can actually see some light at the end of the tunnel, and the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train coming the other way, it's actually sunlight. And that's the 3-month window, probably add another 3 months after that. So you're looking at 6 months of where he goes, I actually have a business that's going to survive and then potentially thrive. So house intact, marriage intact, family relationship as it was. And at that 6-month point, he actually said to me and the partner that worked at the firm that was advising him, he goes, do you know what? He goes, when we spoke, and it was over Christmas period, and I never went to Gary's house, but his house apparently had a very nice pool. And I don't know if you've done this before, but when you are floating on top of water and you exhale, you actually sink. And what he thought for a split second was, what if I just stay here? What if I just stay here? My life insurance will cover all the debts. My family will be protected. They keep their house. And the only reason he didn't go ahead and do it is he couldn't bear the thought of either his wife or his kids finding him in the pool. So it's a pretty moving story, and to be honest, probably the most moving story I've ever been associated with. But the reality is not all growth is good growth. You need to understand how profitable projects are, or the products you're selling, and avoid being in the position that Gary ended up being in for a period of time. And also making sure you know what's the most profitable thing for your business to do, and having the discipline around that so you can avoid that situation.